This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs the Playbook at the greatest stadium ever created. Talk about a simulator up there. That's $1 billion here at SoFi in Inglewood. And I have the king of simulators. He knows everything about golf because he's the CEO about golf. And he's Ken Kamada. Welcome to the Playbook.
Thank you. Appreciate for having me here.
Yeah, well, I owned a golf course. And, I built and played golf for one reason, to do business. I represented some amazing golfers from Lee Elder to Furyk, to a variety of people at Lee Steinberg that we were representing. Golf to me is the greatest game as far as skill goes. And the reason is, for me, my expertise is in mindset. And regardless of whether you're on a golf course or standing on a simulator, or even, in my opinion, playing putt-putt golf, there's no other game that has the same chess-like component of mindset. And it also represents one other thing besides mindset that I want to get into, and it's consistency. At its core, golf is something that you can get better at by practicing. And I believe that in life, that transcends everything. And people say, well, how do you deal with guilt or anxiety? I practice dealing with guilt or anxiety.
Right.
At what age in your career, as you've worked for Morgan Stanley and all these things, did you realize these two components of golf? Because obviously golf must be a huge passion for you. How important mindset is and consistency.
Wow. I think it's even before that. It goes back to when I was probably 9-10 years old. I moved to the United States when I was 10.
From Japan?
Yeah, from Japan. First generation immigrant. And, back then there were really no child labor laws. And my dad literally threw me into a paper route in the Seattle area. And, that was kind of the initial kind of foray into kind of just habit, consistency. Like I had to get up early in the morning, stuff papers, same thing with weekends, because I wanted to get tips, right? And there was no shortcuts to run. If I didn't do that, the Seattle Times would be knocking and say, hey, Ken, why didn't you deliver newspapers to our customers, right? So there was no way to get around. There's really no excuses. Rain or shine, it had to be delivered. So that kind of mindset was kind of put into me early on in my life, and primarily from my father.
And here you are today running the leader in simulation of consistent behavior.
Yeah.
And it's one in which people enjoy more and more because the simulation has become so real. Mm-hmm. What are some of the emotional aspects that that other people may not know about golf simulation that makes it such a great business and also makes it such a addictive business as well?
Yeah. No, I think at the core of golf is not just developing consistency, but it's also developing relationships. I got into golf when I was 17, 18, because my father wanted me to take him out on the course and spend time with him. It was, he was an entrepreneur himself, and from the days in Japan, I would never see my father. He would come home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and even when we moved to the United States, being a small business owner, it was 24/7. So when he had a moment to spare, he would go play golf, or he would go play golf with buddies or business acquaintances. And it was my chance to spend time with my father and connect with him. And I think with a golf simulator, there's the convenience factor of it, but at the core, you get to spend time with people that you care about and develop those relationships. And I think that connection is, to me, the fabric of what golf is about.
I find so interesting because I'm on the other side of it where I quit playing golf so I could be with my son. Because I have 3 daughters, 24, 21, and 19. Mm-hmm. My son's now 13, and I took him to the Masters with a hope that it would ignite some sort of, love for the game. Mm-hmm. Because he's more into traditional sports.
Yeah.
And it was funny because DJ gave him a signed copy of an EA Sports Tiger Woods PGA game, which then, after it was the Masters edition, came home and played, and then said to me, Dad, you got to buy me a set of clubs. Mm-hmm. And now I don't know if it's him or me, but that's our thing. Yeah. I can't replicate that relationship that we get on the course or at a simulator, like you said, there's nothing else I can do business-wise or family-wise that has a quicker bond. Why do you think it is that way, especially today with all this technology?
As far as
Relationship bonding so quickly.
Yeah, I think technology has kind of bridged and democratized the way we connect with people, right? You don't have to be next to people anymore. You don't have to, literally you can just kind of surf on your phone and you feel already connected to someone, right? And social platforms have allowed that form. I think with golf, we're sort of redefining what that could be like too, right? I think traditionally in golf, you have 14 clubs in your bag. You're walking around a public course 5 to 6 hours and doing that with 3 other buddies. It doesn't have to be that way. And what technology serves as a way to redefine things. And for us at aboutGOLF, we have this mantra where we want people to golf your way. And if that means that you just want to spend time alone and practice your wedges and hit 100 shots, that's great. That's golf, right? If you want to play a competition with buddies and just have a good time and drink beers, that's golf, right? If you just want to practice just one club, get that driver straight, we have games that allow you to perfect that skill, and that's okay, that's golf, right? You don't have to carry your whole bag. So I think golf can mean many things to many people, but I think at the core, it is about relationships, right? And how you connect with people. And that's to me how I've always seen golf, and that's we're trying to translate and transform that from my childhood, I guess.
It's interesting because obviously I've been in sports a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at 2 sports that were dying years ago. One was golf and one was baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball continues to die. And the changes that they make are great,
Yeah.
but they're not having the same impact where golf is on the rise.
Yeah.
And it's that customized experience, and technology plays a big role in that.
Absolutely.
What are some of the aspects that you've put into aboutGOLF, your company, that nobody else has and that you think has added value, not just to your customers, but to the game of golf?
Yeah. I think it's to make people really lazy, because golf is actually hard to play. You have to make the time. You have to find people to play with. And software can, like I said, can change all that, right? So we have software and experiences where you can play with anyone on the planet whenever you want, or even asynchronously, and eventually wager and bet. And so that connectivity is there 24/7, right? Versus at a specified time where golf just kind of allows you, right? And so I think technology plays a huge part of it.
One of the aspects, I've been blessed to utilize your simulator, which is why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because one of the things that I find to be of great value is that a simulator can be fun on its own. It's the same with a video game, right? You could play Madden and never convert those skills over to play football.
Sure.
And you can be great at it.
Yep.
But what I like about your simulator is it actually translates over into real golf.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of them don't, right? A lot of people in your space, they pretend as if, this putting green is going to allow you to become a greater putter.
Yep.
But it's not.
Yep.
It's not. It doesn't carry over. Why do you think yours carries over so well? Because I find that the more that I practice, and I go over to my buddy's house, and I was like, I got to get one of these because I actually get better.
Yeah. Well, part of it's repetition, right? And the consistency that you have where you have access to the simulator right there. But it's also, we use technology that brings the most realistic physics to the golf ball flight. And we've perfected this technology for the past 30 years. The other part of it is we try to really lower the barrier to entry for golf, right? So for kids who are starting out, for women who are apprehensive of going on the golf course with their spouse, there are games where you just grab one club, practice hitting balls, and we have simulated games like darts and cornhole, where at the end of the day, you're still swinging a club. As you want to get better, you have to make better contact, right? So the mind is telling you that, okay, I need to start swinging it and focusing on technique and mechanics. And all of a sudden, 6 months down the road, you're flushing shots, and now you have that itch and you want to go actually play golf, right? Like real golf.
Yeah. And And it's affordable and convenient.
It's affordable and convenient, yeah.
And how, marketing and telling a story, especially in a crowded space where, the representations made a lot of the time by people in the simulator business may or may not be exactly what the experience is at, but yet you have to educate a person before they're actually going to make the investment in the simulator itself.
Sure.
How do you educate the market as far as marketing goes to separate yourself from the noise?
Yeah, I think in the golf simulator space, it's been around 30 plus years, and tracking has pretty much been perfected.
Yeah.
Right? Now, whether on our end, where we're 99.9% accurate as verified by the PGA of America, to, an iPhone that's tracking you on a driving range, which is 90-some% accurate. Golf ball tracking has been around for a long, long time. What we focus on is really solving our customers' problems. So for businesses, how do we bring them software tools and features that allow them to manage their business centers so that they can grow their business, right? And then for the golfer in our simulator, make that experience frictionless, easy, intuitive, so that they want more, right? So the combination of just the ease of using the product plus that feeling you get when you hit a great golf shot, I mean, it's that dopamine hit that we want to give our customers over and over again.
And now we both have eclectic backgrounds, and a lot of people today, since the job that most people are going to hold 5 years from now probably doesn't even exist,
Yeah.
and we are living in a different world. How did you evolve the skills that you learned in school, the knowledge of who and what, and then aligning that golf desire from when you were 17 and 18 into the situation of being CEO of the leader of a golf simulator company?
Yeah, that's a great question. I took a very unorthodox path in my life and career, and part of it was, I just had a chip on my shoulder, being an immigrant coming here, and my mom's British, so I already spoke English. I was put in ESL immediately without even being allowed to speak a word. And so I think, for me, having challenges in front of me and being spontaneous with my decisions and not to follow kind of the status quo has allowed me to take risks in my life, right? And I think those risks have sometimes not worked out, and then at other times have worked out really tremendously. And it's given me what I think is a pretty exciting and not very boring life. And I wouldn't change a thing about it. Because the thing that my father and mother would always tell me is that, you can't change yesterday's news. The newspaper's been already printed. So there's no point dwelling about what you could have done, should have done, or would have done. You always have to look forward. And you might not know what's coming up down the road, but if it's interesting, go for it. Why not? The worst thing that can happen is you get fired or the company folds, but you have your mind, you have your drive. You live in arguably the best zip code in the world, in the United States.
Yeah.
So it's the land of opportunities, why we came here. So take advantage of that, right?
One of the things that stops people, even if they have open-minded, open-hearted parents, because coming from both of our cultures, I'm sure you're well aware of the doctor, lawyer, failure attitude.
Yeah, it was tattooed on my forehead at an early age. Yeah.
But I find that we can never overachieve our own self-image, and that the biggest detriment to most entrepreneurs is they care what other people think. Even if their parents are in support of
Absolutely.
doing that, they still have friends that somehow think that you can't do something because they can't do it or they don't wish to do it. How have you overcome that resistance that we all face about what other people think you can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do, I should say as well?
No, that's a great question, because I think a majority of my childhood, even through the early part of my professional career, I felt like I was blanketed with this insecurity, right? That I wasn't good enough, or there's always someone better than me. And it wasn't until, honestly, maybe about 8 to 10 years ago where I realized that rather than focusing on the insecurity, use that to an advantage of how you're going to make decisions and how you're going to think about your life. And that kind of insecurity went from always kind of looking behind my shoulder to just being grateful that I get these opportunities and not worrying about whether I make it or fail. Is that I'm just lucky that and grateful that my parents sacrificed everything to bring me here. And I use that as kind of like a beacon in my life to always think about all the things I do is to honor them and thank them for what they did. And that's what I try to teach my kids. And it's hard sometimes because they just want to watch TV and Bluey on TV. But I think that's kind of how I've taken a negative in my life and actually turned it into a positive.
Yeah, can we transform the gratitude of the past and the things that we have with gratitude for the future and the faith that coincides with it? Last question, you talked about the kids. I have 4 of them myself.
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest challenges for all entrepreneurs, all C-level executives, is the misnomer or illusion of balance. I'd love to understand your participation in the perception of balance and what advice you would give young entrepreneurs that have the same desires that you and I have to pursue our potential regardless of what it's going to take.
Sure. Being an entrepreneur is really, really hard. And I think I've had many discussions with coaches, mentors, therapists, that at the end of the day, you have to figure out a way to prioritize what you want to achieve those goals. And sometimes those priorities, you have to sacrifice a few things. And a really good mentor of mine told me years ago that, when you choose a life of privilege and impact, expect it to be hard. And so when you have that mindset going in that there are going to be a lot of challenges, it's not going to be, a walk in the park, you don't get disappointed, when things get thrown your way because you sort of expected it, right? And so I try to have that mindset constantly that even when days feel somewhat stable and we're kind of coasting, cruising, I prepare myself mentally that there are going to be days where it gets difficult. COVID was one of those periods where I was a brand new parent and trying to figure out, childcare with my wife, who's also an entrepreneur, and we don't have any parents within a 4-hour flight of us. We were challenged to the fullest, and I think what that taught us was that when you can figure it out and overcome things, you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn that you can actually accomplish a lot of things, and you're like, I can do this, like, why not me? I was able to do it before. And I think, like I said, I try to take these negatives in life and turn them into a positive and flip the script. And that allows me to stay rational about things and just grounded about things, and it makes it easier. But it's definitely hard.
Yeah, they always say that if you want great in your life, it starts with hard. But if you want amazing in your life, it's going to start with impossible. Yeah. And you got to be grounded and grateful. And you certainly are grounded and grateful. Ken Kamada, the CEO of aboutGOLF. What an honor it is to have you here at SoFi. This is David Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.